Hello guys, welcome back to another video about Liverpool FC on the Southern Scouser. It's not been a great week. Last video I managed to talk about two back-to-back wins, which was really nice to talk about after a horrible run that we'd been on. We thought maybe the results would pick up, but no, straight back in, 2 home games and 2 home defeats, which makes it 3 on the bounce now, which I don't think we've ever done. I think they said 1964-65 season was the last time that happened, so never in the Premier League era has that ever happened before. So, yeah, difficult times. I'll kind of just quickly brush over the 2 games that have passed, and there's a few other things I wanted to get into as well. So, I'll keep it short on the game reviews. Obviously, the first game was Brighton at home in midweek. Alisson was ill, so missed yet another game. And Kelleher came in, and to be fair, did a pretty good job. I don't think the defeat was anything down to him. There was an early chance for Salah. We tend to keep having some big early chances in these games where teams park the bus. You know, they're not quite set, and yeah, we tend to miss them. We've had some glorious chances over the past few games where really we should have done better. So yeah, early chance spurned. Brighton kind of, again, similar to the Burnley match, grew into the game, parked the bus, and yeah, took their one chance, which was a ball from the right into the back post on the left side for Brighton attacking wise. Burn headed it back across goal, and yeah, kind of combination of 2 Brighton players stuck it in the net. So not a lot Kelleher could have done. Yeah, a decent goal from Brighton. I mean, we could have done better defending it, and really we should have gone on and, you know, salvaged a draw if not all 3 points. So yeah, it was disappointing. After that Burnley game, you take that in isolation as, you know, a bad day at the office, and you know the chance that the streak went, didn't it? Of home games undefeated. So to get 2 in a row was really disappointing, especially on, you know, the opposition. After that, we had the Man City game, which, yeah, it's one of them. You think, okay, well, on one hand, it's Man City who, you know, are on a great run of form, are clearly the best team in the league this season, but then they are going to have a go. So that, you know, they're not going to park the bus. It's not going to be the same old story again. So potentially it would suit us more as we went away to Spurs and West Ham, who again looked to play, and we managed to pick them off. But yeah, Mane, Alisson and Fabinho all returned to the team after missing through injury. Again, no centre-backs started the match. We had Henderson and Fabinho at the back, so Phillips dropped out, and Kabak and Davies did not come in. I think a lot of people kind of blaming that as to the result, but I think really it's the problem is that we didn't bring them in early enough in the January window to get them a run of games, to drop them into a cup match. You know, we had a couple of those in Jan that we could have bedded them in. So yeah, to chuck them in against Man City would have probably been a bit harsh and a bit premature. So I got the lineup. Whether or not I agree with it, I got what we had available. I understood why Klopp went with that. Mane had a good early chance, a header. Firmino had a good chance as well, which Ederson made a good save, top corner. So yeah, we started all right. It was pretty 50-50, pretty cagey, until Fabinho gave away a penalty. Gundogan stepped up to take it, who's been in a rich vein of goal-scoring form. But yeah, absolutely skied the pen, which adds to the last couple, I believe, of penalties for Man City against Liverpool having been missed. De Bruyne obviously missed one this season as well at the Etihad, which we managed to get away with a draw in that game. So yeah, that was a let-off, a bit of a warning sign. Maybe it was time to, you know, step it up a bit. But yeah, I think really individual errors obviously have cost us in this game. You look at Trent, completely confidence is shot for whatever reason. Gave the ball away. Sterling went round him as if it was a traffic cone. Didn't move, didn't react once he'd been beaten, just walked, which is really poor. And yeah, they squared the ball into Gundogan, who finished after Alisson made the initial save. But that was disappointing to see. But you know, you think, okay, so, you know, can we get back in the game? It's only 1-0. Jones was playing really well in midfield, actually creating, but he was brought off, which was a strange one. Salah eventually won a penalty. He got the wrong side of Diaz, which was really good. and scored his penalty fantastically. Really good pen from Salah. Doesn't often miss penalties, so that's something that's sometimes underestimated, having a good penalty taker in your team. And then it all kind of fell apart, didn't it? It's difficult to blame and scapegoat, but particularly in this game, Alisson, I'm not sure where his head was, whether he was still feeling a bit ill from the week. I'm not sure, but gave the ball straight to Foden, playing it out from the back, and they pretty much crossed it in and tapped it into an empty net, which was disappointing. And then about 2-3 minutes later, he does the exact same thing. It's absolutely bizarre. You'd already put Fabinho in trouble, and then passes it straight to Bernardo Silva. No centre backs are in the area, so runs in, crosses it in, and it's a tap in for Sterling for 3-1. And by that time, the game's gone. There's not many teams that come back from 3-1 down against Man City, because the more you push, they pick you off, etc. So I think we all kind of knew that was the nail in the coffin, and obviously Foden added to it at the end. Really good goal on his left foot, cutting in from the right. Robertson probably could have done better, and really Alisson, it was kind of straight at him. You'd think maybe he could have done a little bit more, but I think his confidence had dropped off, obviously because of the last two goals. So 4-1. Memories of that kind of Jose Chelsea result at Anfield, probably getting on for 15 years ago now, when they came and beat us by the same scoreline. So it's not nice, licking their wounds now. Obviously games coming up, we've got Leicester away. We've got a whole week off now for the first time in a while, followed by the Champions League match, which I'll get onto, with Leipzig, and then the Merseyside derby at that weekend. So there's a few things being batted around as to the reasons why Liverpool are not what they were, and what's kind of happened, and who's playing where, and is it Thiago's fault, and all this kind of thing. I think it's a mixture of all of them, to be brutally honest. I've watched quite a lot of videos this week. That's why I've kind of delayed mine. Just wanted to see the general feel, and not copy anybody else specifically, but just kind of give you my own take. But looking at it, people are blaming Klopp's attitude, or maybe Thiago isn't the right kind of player for Liverpool. But I get Klopp isn't the best loser in the world. He does come up with some very strange excuses. I think it would be refreshing, not necessarily to throw the players under the bus, but to at least kind of say, it's not acceptable lately, that the level is not where we need to be. Just kind of have a little bit of a go on him. But he always makes excuses. So I think Liverpool fans are getting a little bit tired of the same interview. The same "we go again" Instagram posts from the players. We want to see them hurting a bit more and thinking about the result that's just happened, not just get it out of their mind and focus on the next one. I think they need to, feel like we feel for the next few days after a bad result like that, and after really a bad run for about 6 weeks now. Arguably, I would say we've probably been on a slight decline for about a year, which I think sounds extreme, but if you think back to when we returned from lockdown last year, it just wasn't the same. The intensity had gone. The league had already been wrapped up, or it was confirmed within the first week, because Man City didn't win a game that they had to win. But I think we finished off that season on 99 points. Realistically, we should have been getting well over 100 with the total that we had and the games remaining. That was where the cracks started to appear. Obviously, we went out to the FA Cup and the Champions League, which really I think we all blamed Adrian for. But that's the Community Shield we lost again for the second season. There were league defeats to Arsenal, which again isn't something that would usually happen. We all kind of accepted it because the league was already wrapped up. But obviously we've gone out on the FA Cup since, the Carabao Cup again. And then the league form was pretty good at the start of the season, even with the injuries initially. We were sitting top of the league for a little while, but they really fell and dried up, and the goals stopped coming. When you stop scoring and you can't keep clean sheets, it's a bit of a recipe for disaster. So it's come out today that Klopp's mum has sadly passed away, which does explain a little bit maybe of his rudeness in some of his interviews, being asked the same questions over and over again. I get that, it is a bit annoying, but at the same time, if he gave an answer, I think people would be more accepting of that. So yeah, getting on to Thiago, that was kind of the next thing I wanted to focus on. World-class midfielder, hasn't suddenly become rubbish overnight, is being asked to do things he wouldn't have to do, in my opinion, usually, especially for Bayern last season. So I don't think he's barely played a game with Henderson in midfield. It's definitely not with Henderson and Fabinho in midfield together with him. So that for me says it all. He's basically playing as a deep number 6 in that midfield when Henderson and Fabinho are in defence or injured. And yeah, he's a deep line playmaker, yes, but he's getting booked pretty much the first 5 minutes of every game because he's not in there to make tackles. He wants to put himself about in the English league. I get that, but we want to get him on the ball on the front foot, starting attacks. When we have Van Dijk, Henderson, and Thiago all one in front of the other, they can all ping a 40-50 yard ball out to the fullbacks or straight to the front three. I think we'll see a different team. But at the minute, Thiago's playing in there with maybe a Shaqiri and a Wijnaldum. Shaqiri is a similar kind of player to Thiago, wants to get the ball at his feet. Jones maybe in there as well. Milner for me is past it now. So yeah, he's not really had a proper midfield. The midfield that made us so successful was just industrial, hard working. And all right, you can add some flair to that with Thiago, but you can't take out what made it so successful and expect the same results. So yeah, for me, really, if you're going to muck up the centre-backs, it'd probably be better to just play 2 centre-backs, whether that was a Phillips and a Williams or something, rather than mess up the midfield as well. So yeah, that was kind of what I wanted to get at. Top 4 now is looking increasingly competitive. I think we can still do it. Obviously, the next couple of games will go a long way towards that. But yeah, it's clear to see, isn't it, that the squad depth is the main reason this season for the drop-off. I saw Jamie Carragher speaking on Sky Sports that he still thinks we need 3 players. The team is very similar to the 2018 runners-up in the Champions League when we lost to Real Madrid. It's almost the same team, and he feels that we need to go again, not just kind of add in players for the bench. Smikas and potentially Kabak and Davies have come in to do that as well, kind of just cover. He needs, he thinks we need to kind of go in with 3 players that are actually going to come into the team and challenge for a starting position. Thiago and Jota came in the summer, and really they're at the same level as the other 11, aren't they? They're looking at, before Jota especially got injured, he was keeping Firmino out the team for a little while, and he would maybe play a game if Mane wanted a rest or Salah wanted a rest. There was healthy rotation without a drop off in class, but obviously now it's clear to see. Obviously, the last 2-3 years we've been able to play our best 11 or 12 players pretty much every week, which is in terms of the opposition out there, 11, 12 players for the last 2-3 years we've been in. We pretty much had the best team. Obviously now with COVID and as a condensed season, and unfortunately we've had our worst injury luck for the last 3 years. It's all kind of combined, and at the same time we've gone to the point where the squad depth is really showing now. We're down to the bare bones. You look at Man City, for example, at centre back. You've got Ruben Dias and John Stones have majorly played. Laporte is not exactly a backup option, is he? He's brilliant. They've got Nathan Ake, who they spent 40 million on in the summer, who barely even gets a look in, and they've got Eric Garcia as well, who will be a free agent in the summer, but has been linked with the likes of Juventus, Barcelona. So a pretty good player. So there's 5 centre backs there that really any combination of those 5, obviously there's a first choice group, yes, but a Laporte and an Ake, or a Stones and Diaz, or a Garcia and a Laporte, it's still Premier League quality. Whatever combination they have, it's fine. You look at ours, you've got Van Dijk and Gomez, probably the first choice team, both out. Matip is obviously, you can't rely on him, but when he's come in alongside Van Dijk has looked good. Matip and Gomez obviously were a bit shaky. It didn't last long because they're constantly injured. But when you start bringing in the likes of the 4th choice, you've got Phillips, you've got Williams, who have both played this season fairly frequently and have both not, they're not the quality of champions of England, and it showed. That's why the likes of Fabinho and Henderson have been dropped back into that defence, which shows you that there's just not the depth there. And as I said before, it mucks up your midfield as well. So going towards the Leicester game, I would like to see, at least you would think, Kabak has come in to play the majority of the remainder of the season. So I'd like to see, obviously, Alisson in goal, preferably with his head on and passing to Liverpool players. I think Robertson and Trent obviously are going to carry on playing. I'd like to see a Kabak and a Fabinho centre-half pairing, probably our 18th centre-back pairing of the season, which just shows you it's impossible to build. You build from the back, and if that's constantly changing, it's impossible, which is what has happened. So yeah, I'd like to see that hopefully be the combination for the majority of the remainder of the games now. Obviously, I haven't seen Kabak play as of yet, but he's obviously come in, and there's an 18 million fee agreed in the future, so it shows you the kind of level. He should be higher up than Davies in the pecking order. Henderson back in that midfield is an absolute must. I think Fabinho and Henderson, it would be great to come back into midfield together, but I think Fabinho, centre-back wise, is needed more at the back than Henderson is, so I would prefer to see Henderson return in midfield over Fabinho. So Henderson in midfield, in that 6, in that holding midfield position, with a Thiago and a Wijnaldum either side, which that midfield then has everything for me. You've got energy, you've got tackling, you've got commitment, you've got skill, ability on the ball, energy, work rate, leadership. It's got everything in that midfield. So that would be my choice. Jota's not back yet. Shaqiri seems to be better as a sub in introduction to games later on, and Origi, honestly, there's a lot of fans out there that love him, and yeah, he's done great jobs for us in the past, scored some important goals, but yeah, he's not anywhere near the quality anymore. I don't think he's scored for the last 10, 15 appearances, so it's time to move on from him. Can't wait till Jota's back. It's not going to be yet, so we'll stick with the Mane, Salah, Firmino front three. I think that team will give Leicester a good go. We managed to beat them 4-0, I think at home or something. It was a very, very one-sided game at Anfield. So yeah, I think they're a team that, especially at home, that are going to come out and have a go at us. They've got a cracking team. Vardy, Maddison, they're really, really good players. Justin as well, I like, which I'll get onto in a moment. But yeah, they've got a really solid team. So it's going to be a tough match. It's on Saturday at 12:30, and yeah, for me, if we play that team, there's a chance we can win the game if everybody's heads are on, and yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, that would be good to see. The match after that is going to be, as I said, the Champions League comes back. It's the last 16, which yeah, it seems a while since we played our group stage games, doesn't it? But I don't know what to think about it. A lot of fans and fan channels are saying, let's all eggs in one basket. Let's go for the Champions League. Realistically, are we going to win the Champions League without Van Dijk at the back? I think it's going to be a tough ask, and especially in this form. So for me, top 4 for next season is more important, because when everybody's back, Champions League will be more of a realistic option, I think, for next season. So of course we want to win. Of course it's a massive game. Leipzig, it's going to be taking place actually in Budapest in Hungary due to some COVID restrictions and some travel bans, etc. So yeah, we will see. It will be technically the away match, but it will be held at a neutral venue. Leipzig are in good form. They've won the last 3 in a row. They've scored 8 and they haven't conceded a goal. 2 of those games were against Bochum and Schalke, who I think one is in the 2nd division in the cup and the other's bottom of the league. But one was at home to Leverkusen, who are in the title fight with them. And Leipzig sits 2nd, only behind Bayern Munich currently in the Bundesliga. So yeah, no mugs at all. They're sitting above Dortmund, who have Haaland and Sancho and the like, Brandt, etc. So they're a good side. Man United beat them and lost to them in the group stage. So I think, again, if you turn up and you catch them early, they're beatable. They've got some good players, Upamecano, Konate, Sabitzer. They've got some good players. Poulsen up front I like as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that game. Hopefully we'll have, a game under our belt for at least one of the new centre-backs, and potentially Jota could be, maybe a week away, and potentially feature in the second leg, which would be great. So that'll be an interesting one. Obviously after that, we've got Everton at home, which was where all our problems kind of began. Over at Goodison Park, we lost Thiago for a while. Van Dijk obviously out for the season. So there's some revenge to be held there. Not in terms of injuring their players, of course, but yeah, result-wise, it would be nice to get one back over them, I think. So Other than that, I just wanted to speak a little bit about the summer window and about what Carragher touched on Sky Sports on Monday Night Football. Carragher mentioned a centre-back, a centre-mid and a striker was still Liverpool's priority, as I mentioned, to bring 3 solid players into that 11, the likes of when we signed Salah, Alisson and Van Dijk, 3 players that you look back on in 5 years' time and think, blimey, that window was good. We brought 3 players in that have been, the cornerstones of our success. We haven't just brought in 2 or 3 players that have become squad players, or someone like Keita who's been a flop, for example. We've brought in Wijnaldum and Robertson in this window, for example, and you look back and think, blimey, at the time they were maybe not overwhelming signings, but look how important they've been. So to an extent, I agree, particularly probably on the positions I disagree. Obviously, his first position he mentions is centre back. So in terms of the next competitive match we play after a transfer window, August of this year, you're going to have Van Dijk and Gomez probably starting the game. Matip could potentially leave over the summer. I don't think he will, so he's going to remain 3rd choice. You've then got Kabak as 4th choice. You've then got Davies as 5th choice. So there's 5 centre-backs, and arguably Fabinho will probably drop in there above the other 3. So if you've got, depending on how Kabak does and depending if we sign him permanently, you've got Van Dijk and Gomez starting. You've got Fabinho and Kabak that are most likely going to come in after those 2, or for a cup game, or form, kind of rotation with Champions League. So are we going to go and add another centre-back when we've still got Phillips, we've still got Williams? No, I don't think we are. Not without getting rid of some. And Matip's not going to have a lot of sell-on potential. Gomez and Van Dijk are going nowhere. Kabak, as I say, has only just come in, as has Davies. Fabinho is a good cover position for that role. And yeah, Phillips may move on, Williams may move on. But for me, I don't see us signing another centre-back anytime soon. So more important on my position is the fullback area, because Trent, especially Robertson, has pretty much played every week for 2-3 years now, and there's just no rotation. There's no chance for a rest. We brought in Tsimikas as a backup left back. For me, he's not the level. He might go on to prove me wrong, and I hope he does. But for me, he does not look at the level that we need currently. So same on the right hand side. You've got Nico Williams that comes in for Trent, but again, he's disappeared off the face of the earth because every time he comes in, the level drops off. So a Milner tends to drop in there, or even a Joe Gomez when he's fit has played at right back, and he's not a right back for me. He just doesn't have the attributes of a full back. He's a solid centre back. So yeah, I'd like to see a full back come in, whether that's someone that can play on the left and the right, or maybe we bring a left back and a right back up, depending on how Tsimikas does. For me, it's all right saying this, but who are the actual people that you can bring in? For me, there's a few options. You look at right back, for example, you've got Lamptey at Brighton. I think he's just signed a new deal, but we know what that means in football. It just means he might just have a better buyout clause or more value to sell on in the summer. So will he want to go and be a rotation / backup with Trent? Possibly not, but that's an option, I would say. You've got Hakimi at Inter Milan, who has only recently gone to Inter, had a great loan spell at Dortmund last season on loan from Madrid, and Inter managed to snap him up. But they're having some real financial issues at the moment. So I think that could be an absolute steal to bring in Hakimi. 20-30 mil I think would be fine. You look at the likes, as I say, of Manchester City. They have a Cancelo, they have a Kyle Walker. They have world-class players, 2 world-class players for every position. And if we don't, we cannot compete with them. It's as simple as that. You have to be incredibly lucky to not have any injuries and play your best team week in, week out. Already over the last few years, Klopp has condensed it down and chucked away the cup matches and really focused on the Champions League and the league, just playing his best team in those competitions, which has worked. We've won them. But going forward, clearly, we cannot rely on the same 12, 13 players week in, week out. So for me, there are a couple of options. James Justin at Leicester, recently came in from Luton. I think he's a cracking player. He can play left back or at right back. It'd be great to have one backup player that could play left and right back, because then they don't feel so much as a backup, because they're coming in every time a left back needs a rest or has a suspension or an injury, and every time a right back has the same. They're the go-to, so they're not just waiting on one player to miss out. If either of those two need to have a rest or miss a game, Justin's straight in. And for me, he's even starting to add goals to his game now. I think he'd be a great signing. Leicester will want a lot of money for him again, because they've already lost Chilwell and Maguire. But He's just in a first choice player when they have all their players back. They've got the likes of Castagna. They've got the likes of Ricardo Pereira as well coming back. So that's a potential one in there. Obviously, some are more realistic than others, but it just gives you an idea. There's definitely names out there if you have a look. On the right hand side, there's a fair few as well. Or Rafael Guerreiro is one that can play, that I've seen play both sides for Dortmund. Again, a selling club. If they wanted to hold on to Haaland and Sancho, they're going to be looking at letting some others go. There's an option. Hernandez at left back for Bayern Munich, and I think at AC Milan. They may even be related. They're both pretty good fullbacks. I think Milan are getting back in the Champions League, but they're always going to be an option to buy from a team that's not at that top level. You got the likes of Gaia at Valencia, Tagliafico at Ajax, who was linked with Chelsea, and David Alaba has still not decided where he wants to play football next season. He can play at left back or at centre back or even in midfield, and he's a free transfer as well. So there's lots and lots and lots of options there. You know, we don't. The gap between our first choice player in the position and the backup is way too big, and that's the problem. And what's happened this season is all the people that are the backup options have played way more than they usually do, and that's why we find ourselves in fourth, because we've got the fourth best team so far this season. It's as simple as that. The next position Carragher mentioned was centre mid that we needed to strengthen in, and again, I might disagree with him. I think it kind of hinges on whether Wijnaldum stays or goes. I hope he stays. It looks increasingly unlikely that he won't. If he does go, then potentially that's a new conversation to have. But even if he does, you know, we've still got Henderson, Fabinho, Thiago would probably be the first choice. Milner's still kicking around. You've got Shaqiri, you've got Naby Keita that may come back into the team. Curtis Jones. So there's options. Midfield is probably the best place we have, which is why we've borrowed players from the midfield for centre-back, because that's where we have our most depth. So in terms of centre mid, I may slightly disagree with Carragher again there, and potentially for me, I'd actually go for an attacking midfielder, i.e. a wide player / winger. So currently we have Firmino, Salah and Mane, and Jota can come in. If one of them four are injured, we're back to having no rotation at all. So we need another winger, in my opinion, that can maybe play on both sides. So again, Wilfried Zaha, would he go to Liverpool at this stage of his career? 100%. Would he cost 100 million now? I don't think so. I think we could get him for a reasonable fee. He's a good player. Similar to Jota, he's at a team where, given the chance, he will score goals, but put him in a higher team and, it's limitless what he can achieve. Zaha would be a great shout. Slightly more expensive option, I think Jadon Sancho is a good option as well. From Borussia Dortmund. Obviously, Man United are heavily linked with him in the summer and are still heavily linked with him now. I think there's probably better value out there for the moment. Potential-wise, yes, he's probably got one of the best potentials in this list. But for me, I think, for what the level he's at now and the cost, he's probably not the best option, but definitely a good option if we had the money, because we've been linked with the likes of Mbappe, but for me, that's just not going to happen currently in this climate. So trying to look at a little bit more realistic options. Don't get me wrong, Mbappe are great, but Sancho for me is a good choice. And then you've got three other options that I would say potentially. You've got Depay from Lyon, who's available on a free transfer. I know he's been heavily linked with Barcelona. I think PSG are sniffing around as well, bearing in mind he plays in the French league already. He's available on the free transfer. I think he would be a great one to go out and get. Memphis Depay did have that spell at Man United, but I think we can forgive him for that. He's a top player, plays for Holland, so Van Dijk and Wijnaldum, already here. I think it would be attractive for him to come to the club. So that's, for me, it would be the best option. He's free. He's at an age where he's in his prime, but he's not kind of coming to the end. He's prime, and he will get some really good years, best years out of him. I think he's ready for a step up from the French league. Maybe a slightly untried and untested is Leon Bailey from Leverkusen. He was a little bit more hot property a few years ago when he burst onto the scene. He has probably dipped slightly, but maybe he needs a fresh challenge. Obviously played with Havertz at Leverkusen last season, who are still a good side, who do pop in and out of the Champions League. Leon Bailey, really, really fast, pacey. I think he could be a good option. And the other one is Jack Grealish, who, for me, I don't think he can spend too much longer at Villa. As much as he's a Villa boy and he's captain and he's a fantastic player, and Villa have been so good this season, I think he's not a young boy. I think now, looking at the England team, I think he's got that move in him, hasn't he? to a Chelsea, to a United, to a City, to a Liverpool, to a Spurs. I think he's got that move in him. So for me, we should go and get Jack Grealish because he's fantastic. He's exactly what we need. We don't have anybody that takes the ball from the edge of our box to the edge of the other person's box. You know, we're good at spreading the play and doing some 2 or 3 passes from box to box, but do we have a player that can get on the ball and dribble fast distances from deep? Obviously, we have Salah and Mane. They tend to get the ball a bit further up the pitch, don't they? But for me, Grealish would be the missing link and the missing jigsaw piece in this team. He would really, really improve us as a side. So for me, Jack Grealish would be fantastic. I know he'd cost a lot, maybe 60, 70 mil, but it depends what the ambition is from FSG and Jurgen Klopp. Do they want, Klopp's current deal is till 2024. Is he going to be given time to maybe rebuild this successful team? At least in a couple of years, the majority of this team are going to be 30 and above. So will he be given the reins? You've created a successful championship team. 3-4 years down the line, here's the budget to go and do it again. We'll wait to see what happens with FSG, whether they'll be tight over the summer or they'll actually say, do you know what, let's go for it, or not. But I don't see Klopp going anywhere anytime soon. I think Gerrard, he's probably going to be coming in, isn't he, as the next boss in 2024 when Klopp decides to walk away. If he does, or if he gets some more success and decides to hang on a few more years, will remain to be seen. But I think that's the long-term plan for, and most Liverpool fans would be more than happy if that was to happen. I'm just going to wrap up on the last position and leave it there. So Jamie Carragher also mentioned the striker was the one position he decided was the last position he decided was important to go and get a first choice striker. And for me, I agree. Yes, you've got Firmino, who, yes, he's a good player. He's a great player on the ball. He's a good, probably as a false 9 and as probably even as a number 10. But for me, strikers need to score goals, and he doesn't do that enough. So you need to go and this is where I'd get the marquee signing. So for me, it's between 2. There's not that many strikers out there that are good value. But for me, these 2 are the best options. So you've got Lautaro Martinez at Inter Milan, who is incredible. Very similar to Aguero. I think he's got that move in him. I think Inter, again, are strapped for cash. They do need to sell. I think we've got Lukaku as well. So it's not like they won't have any strikers if they did make that deal. So for me, Lautaro Martinez would be an absolutely brilliant option. Other than that, Erling Haaland is the other. I think everybody wants him. So it's going to be more of a bidding war. Will he stay one more year at Dortmund? I'm not sure. But yeah, you've got PSG, Man City, Man United, Real Madrid are all going to be looking at Haaland, aren't they? So it's really going to be up to him, his personal choice of where he wants to go. So for me, one of those 2 would be a brilliant idea. Firmino could then be a bit more in a rotation position with playing in that number 10 role if he wanted to play a 4-2-3-1, or being an option off the bench as a striker, being a rotation if Haaland was to be suspended or injured, and just to kind of bring him in, 70th minute, do we need a goal, let's go 2 up, etc. Because at the moment, chucking Origi in from the start or as a sub, it just has no impact whatsoever. It's definitely time for him to go. So that's the video from me, guys. I really enjoyed doing this one, apart from the scores. Obviously, I'm looking forward to doing a more successful video next time, following the Leicester game and the first leg of the Leipzig Champions League match. I'll do another video just before the Merseyside derby. So I'll see you then, guys. Take care.